Star Wars, the expanded universe. A universe so vast that has over 17,000 characters from various different eras, from Dawn of the Jedi to the Old Republic, to the prequels all the way to the Legacy era. This is the tale of over 17,000 characters throughout the Star Wars universe. This is our first step to a much larger world that exists in the Star Wars universe. This is the story beyond the movies. This is the story of the Star Wars expanded universe. A universe loved by many. A universe that helped shape what this franchise is today. This is their story.
Hello everyone, Darcinova here. We're episode 32. Shit. That's a lot of episodes I've done so far, a lot of reviews. Anyway, this time I'm reviewing X-Wing, Rogue Squadron, which this is the first book of an 8-book series. Well, there's a 9th one, but that's way later down the timeline. Written by Michael A. Stockpole. Well, before I get into this, I wasn't expecting much from this, considering, to be honest, the most interesting parts of the Star Wars universe for me has always been about the Jedi and the Sith. But I wanted to try something different, which I went to my bookshelf and decided to pick this out. I have the first 4 books. I don't have the other ones yet. And what can I say about it? Well, I'm going to talk about the book. Well, at the time, you really didn't have that many stories in the Star Wars universe, and this was something a little different from the main stuff with revolving around the big 3. This was one of the first, that actually focused on other characters besides Luke, Han, and Leia. Yeah, I know you had your Tales of the Jedi comics, but in the novels department, this was one of the first series that doesn't focus on those characters. In fact, one of the main characters of this series, especially this book, is Wedge Antilles, who is a fan favorite amongst many Star Wars fans, and Corran Horn. And honestly, to see Corran Horn, especially since I'm reading New Jedi Order, to see him what he was like at the very start is something that I wish I would have done before I rushed to New Jedi Order, because I would have got a lot more out of it had I read this first. Anyway, I thought the story was really good. I thought the characters were really interesting. And I like the dynamic between Wedge, Corran, and all, the fellow pilots of Rogue Squadron. I mean, the thing about me, I always find that, in my favorite aspects of the Star Wars universe, like I said earlier, is the Jedi. But in terms of stories, the most interesting part about the war between, the Empire and the Rebellion, I'm more interested in reading stories that don't focus on the main characters. I'd rather read stuff about side characters such as Wedge, because I think he's a character that deserves some more love, and I'm glad to see that. And honestly, even though I already loved Wedge as a character by New Jedi Order, but this made me love the character even more. And by the end of this book, it just made me craving for more. I mean, this book kind of ends in a cliffhanger, kind of, because it makes you want to read the next book. But it's good to see, Corrin, um, Horn, all those other characters pretty much bond, as fellow pilots. Even though I am aware there is a comic series of X-Wing Rogue Squadron, which unfortunately that's expensive as fuck. So unfortunately, I can't really talk about the events of those comics, even though there's characters in those that are more prominent in those than they are in here. So I can't really talk about them, but I felt this was a really good read. If you're more of a fan of, of non-force users and you want to read about the conflict in the rebellion, from their perspective, this would be definitely something I would read. Also, it's even though it is a character from the movies, Wedge Antilles, but Wedge might as well be an expanded universe character because he isn't even a character in the movies like he is in this. And I'm looking forward to reading more about this series. I'm probably going to primarily review these after I review the last book of New Jedi Order, because I really want to read more of these. I mean, Star Wars in the universe, at least the novels, it's hard to find novels that focus primarily on the average person who isn't a Force user. It's hard to find those because, unfortunately, people like myself are far more interested in the Jedi and the Sith than they are in the X-Wing and TIE Fighter pilots. But it's good to change things up once in a while. And I believe it breaks up the monotony of reading about the big three constantly, which in the expanded universe, I'll probably do my own thing about it, why I love it so much. If you're really tired of reading about Luke, Han, and Leia, and you're reading like the main storyline of the expanded universe, and you're like Black Fleet Crisis or whatever, you're kind of burned out a little bit, you want to read something different, read X-Wing, because it gives you a perspective on the rebellion through a different point of view besides the main characters, how they view the conflict, how they view the galaxy. This also gives you insight on what goes on in Rebel Command. If there's anyone in the comment section that knows more stories that revolve around these kind of characters, that besides the big three, let me know in the comment section below. Just to end this video off, I forgot I would give my rating. This, I'd give a classic rating because I thought this was good. It was hard to put this down, even though it did take me a little while to read it, but I'm reading so many fucking books as it is that I kind of have ADD. So, pick this up, especially if you're getting tired of monotony of the Bantam era books focusing solely on Luke, Han, and Leia, and you want to read something different. Read X-Wing. I'm actually going to do a vote because after Young Jedi Knights, I'm actually going to focus on comics for a little while. I'll post this, but not on the Star Wars Reviewers group. This is probably one of my first comics I bought in the original expanded universe, Jango Fett Seasons. I'm going to review all of these, but I'll let you decide which one I'll touch on first. Kriz and Empire. Keep in mind, I have not read any of these besides Jango Fett Seasons. Dark Empire, the trilogy, not just this one. I just don't want to take out both comics. I'm not going to talk about the Jedi Academy trilogy until I talk about Dark Empire, because I feel like it's important that I touch on that first. And this will be a relatively long video, considering it's a lot of content in here. Corn Voss, Jedi in Darkness. This covers all the story arcs revolving around Corn Voss Era Secura, pre-Episode 2. So, those are your 4 choices of what you want me to review first. I will review all of them, but you get to choose what I'm going to review first. If I'm not done reading, I'm not likely to be done with Young Jedi Knights by this point, so you're guaranteed to get a review with the next 4 weeks. Because comics, it takes a lot more time to read a novel than a comic, and I could read these in about a few hours, and I could record the review. But you know how I am. I prefer not to record multiple reviews in one day of anything that you guys know about me. I hate doing that. Anyway, I'm off. I'm done with this review. Have a nice day, everyone. And as always, may the force be with you.